Here is hoping you had a productive week and looking forward to a restful weekend. A warm welcome to this week's last edition of Primetime News with me, Michael Madimba. As always, would like to remind you that if it's your first time joining us, do subscribe, hit the like button, and be sure to click the bell icon to stay abreast with the latest happenings locally and internationally. The fish rot saga headlines our bulletin tonight. Popular Democratic Movement PDM Secretary General Manuel Ngaringombe has questioned why lawyer Cesar Namanje has still not yet been arrested for his alleged involvement in the fish rot corruption scandal. Sawi Hausiku compiled our first report.
Ngaringombe made these remarks during the introduction of their candidate Franz Chimbango for the Ngamagoro by-election on 17 December 2021. He questioned why only some people are in jail while Namanje is roaming the streets, adding that he wants to talk to the Prosecutor General. The Popular Democratic Movement Secretary General said his party wants Namanje to face the wrath of the law, just like all the others. During the gathering, Ngaringombe also called on the ruling SWAPO party to stop denying that it received funds from fish rot and to come clean instead. Reporting from Rundu, I am Sawi Hausiku.
Staying with politics. Landless People's Movement LPM leader Bernardo Swartboy says they have just ended public consultations on the draft genocide agreement between Germany and Namibia, were a resounding success. Edward Mumbu Jr., our politics journalist, compiled this report.
The party visited 7 political regions, 32 towns and villages, and addressed at least 5,800 Namibians from affected communities in the process. Swartboy, who was the leader and chief change campaigner, announced at a press event on Thursday that on average each LPM public engagement was attended by at least 180 people. They visited the Ohangwena, Haras, Kunene, Hartap, Oshikoto, Omaheke and Erongo regions. On the 27th of November, LPM will conclude these consultative engagements with a meeting in Windhoek. He said the communities rejected the joint declaration in its entirety, requesting that government revert to the drawing board and come with an inclusive process.
Moving on to fisheries and marine-related news. A current status report for maritime spatial planning for Namibia was launched by the Ministry of Fisheries and Marine Resources at Swakopmund on Thursday. Our coastal-based journalist Isabel Bento filed the story.
The report, which is the first multi-sectoral document of its kind, provides mechanism for an integrated planning approach for maritime management. It also provides a framework and guidance on the use of the ocean by different stakeholders to maximize benefits and minimize conflict among ocean users. Ministry of Fisheries and Marine Resources Executive Director Anneli Haifene at the launch said that the report also establishes the knowledge baseline for planning in the Namibian waters. Launching the report, Fisheries Minister Derek Claassen stated that the broad and growing range of increased human activities and interests in the ocean require careful and improved coordination and cooperation on the use of the ocean and the need to boost a sustainable blue economy. The minister stated that the current status report is an important milestone in the Namibian maritime spatial planning process since it brings together multiple sectors and stakeholders to integrate their spatial claims and interests in order to generate the best sustainable ocean development pathway for the country. Reporting for Nampa News, Isabel Bento, Swakopmund.
Deputy Minister of Information and Communication Technology, Emma Theophilus, says lawmakers have a duty to ensure the formulation of policies and laws are inclusive of the diverse voices of citizens from across Namibia. Erasmus Shalihakwe compiled this report.
She made the remarks on Wednesday while addressing over 50 young people from the country's 14 regions who paid a visit to Parliament through the Bring a Buddy to Pali initiative. Theophilus said the principle of participatory democracy is central to the work of Parliament as the legislative branch of the state, and the participatory mechanisms are thus conceived and designed as a way of citizens' views and input to influence the democratic decision-making process. She avails the tools for holding elected leaders accountable for their duties and similarly for their decisions, and empowers citizens through the participatory democracy. Theopheles said the Bring a Buddy to Parley initiative seeks to bring the youth closer to Parliament by encouraging participatory democracy. She added this initiative creates a platform for transparency in the parliamentary process and promotes accountability of members of parliament to the communities they hail from and represent. Reporting for Nampa News, Isabel Bento, Windhoek.
Your top roundup is up next. In the business and economic segment tonight, we begin at the local pause, where Namibia has listed the largest mobile phone entity, mobile telecommunications company MTC, on the Namibia Stock Exchange today. More on this development from Xinhua News Agency.
The Minister of Public Enterprises, Leon Jooste, said the listing, which is the largest by a Namibian company and the first by a state-owned company, saw Mobile Telecommunications Limited sell a 49% stake of its company to the public through an initial public offering.
There seems to have been a perception that when the listing of MTC was announced, that it was in a way a knee-jerk reaction from the government because government needed money. And I really want to use this opportunity today to dispel that. That is completely wrong. The decision to list MTC was in fact taken a number of years ago already. And the primary objective to list MTC was not to raise money for the shareholder. So the objectives, and I know I've shared that in the past, but I want to share those with you again. And these are the reasons why we took that decision some years ago already. So the first one for us was that we felt, and we were convinced, and it was the right thing, that we needed to develop our domestic financial sector. So we needed to create more scope, more opportunity for investment opportunities within our local economy. And the opportunity that this is creating is now for more money to circulate within our economy and not leaving the domestic economy.
MTC Chief Executive Officer Leaky Erastus noted that the telecommunication giant raised about 2.5 billion Namibian dollars from about 299 million ordinary shares allocated through the initial public offering.
My remarks will not be complete without me thanking all institutional and individual investors who bought shares in MTC. These are people who invested because they see and believe in the present and future value that MTC can create for them as shareholders, and by extension, for society's socio-economic and welfare enhancement. We therefore thank and appreciate you for joining us on the path of growing together.
According to the Namibia Stock Exchange, the free float of MTC at the listing will be 39.9%. Selima Shumofeleni reporting for Nampa News.
Moving on to business news from neighboring Angola. Revenue from Angola's oil exports reached $7.2 billion in the third quarter, an official said on Thursday. Once more, Xinhua brings us this report.
Angolan Secretary of State for Oil and Gas, José Alexander Barroso, said the country exported a total of 98.6 million barrels of crude oil in Q3. The amount of crude oil exported in Q3 represents an increase of approximately 0.58% compared to the previous quarter and a decrease of 10.38% compared to the same period of 2020. China is one of the destinations for Angola's oil exports, according to the official. Silima Shimwefeleni reporting for Nampa News.
Your sports update is up next, but first, the economics roundup and a look at what the weather has in store for us across the country. In tonight's sports segment, we begin with a story making global headlines. Serena Williams says she's devastated and shocked by the case of Chinese tennis star Peng Shuai, whose whereabouts have become a mystery, sparking international concern. More on the story from Stats Perform and DPA.
Doubles Grand Slam winner Peng is said to have been missing since making sexual assault allegations against a former top Chinese government official. She posted on Chinese social media site Weibo allegations against Zhang Gaoli, the ex-vice premier and member of the Chinese Communist Party's Politburo Standing Committee, claiming he had forced her to have sexual relations with him. The head of the Women's Tour, WTA chairman and CEO Steve Simon, has questioned the veracity of an email purportedly written by the two-time major doubles champion saying that she is safe. Now 23-time Grand Slam singles winner Williams has added her powerful voice, stating she is devastated and shocked to hear about the news of her peer, Peng Shuai. Williams added that she hopes Peng is safe and found as soon as possible, stressing this must be investigated. WTA boss Simon said he had a hard time believing the email in Peng's name had come from the 35-year-old player herself. The message stated the allegations of sexual assault were not true and that Peng was resting at home.
Moving on to the English Premier League. American broadcaster NBC has renewed its television deal with the Premier League in a new 6-year agreement worth around £2 billion, which is equivalent to about 2.7 billion US dollars. Let's get more on this mega deal from DPA.
That figure is almost double what the company, the home of the Premier League coverage in the United States since 2013, paid for their current contract back in 2016. The new deal goes some way to offsetting the £2 billion Premier League clubs have lost since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. Over the next 3 years, the Premier League will filter £1.6 billion down the football pyramid, having earlier on Thursday announced a further £25 million of COVID impact funding to clubs in the League 1 and 2 and the National League. The Premier League has already completed its international broadcast sales processes in Europe, the Middle East and Africa, but there are deals in the rest of the Americas and Asia Pacific still to be concluded, and further increases in revenue will also see solidarity payments to the EFL clubs go up.
Your sports roundup is up next. And with that, we've come to the end of tonight and the week's bulletin. A friendly reminder to please subscribe to this channel. Like, share with friends and family. We welcome your invaluable comments. Please feel free to do so in the comment section. To stay informed with the up-to-date news, make a date with us next week Monday on Primetime News. From myself, Michael Madimba, and the entire production crew, wishing you a blessed weekend.